Hey, what's going on everybody out there? I'm Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel, and this video is going to be a little bit different than what you're probably used to seeing with my JJ's First 20 videos on the channel. So right now, as you can see, I am playing Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PlayStation 4. It's also out for PlayStation 5 currently. And the reason why we're playing this and why it's such a big deal to me is because this game has been getting a lot of attention for a lot of the Puerto Rican culture and references that are part of it. You know, because obviously Miles Morales, he's part black, he's part Latino, specifically he's part African American and also part Puerto Rican. And this has been a very big deal for a lot of people, myself included, now that I've been able to see a lot of this stuff in context. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to take a look at some of this stuff, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that are part of this game that the developers put in here that have also been part of my life, have been part of my experience being Puerto Rican, being Latino, Latinx, you know, growing up, you know, not just as a gamer, but just in general as a human being. So like I said, there's not going to be a whole lot of spoilers here. It's just this small section before everything else pops off with Miles Morales. Now, when you actually get to this section of the game, after you do the intro section, which is like the tutorial and all the other stuff, you got to explore a little bit of Miles's his new home, which, according to him, from the dialogue that we'll probably eventually see here and listen to, this is his grandmother's home. He calls her Abuelita, or Abuela's home. He's still now living with his mom. Okay, his dad, there's some stuff that happened with his dad. I'm not going to get into too much of the spoilers, but if you played the original Spider-Man PS4, you know exactly what happened. So right now, they moved out from where they originally were out here to Brooklyn. Okay, and I think they're part of Spanish Harlem right now. So in here, at the current moment, as you could tell, there's a lot of set pieces, even in Miles's room. This is his room. We just came in through the window. So let's go look at some of this stuff here, because there's a couple things to point out. And already we're starting off with a bunch of stuff. Now, obviously, you can see the Puerto Rican flag right there. It looks like a little card from my understanding, and I've seen this like plenty of times, you know, all over the place. You could find these like anywhere, not just in New York, but it's a little Puerto Rican flag, a little Puerto Rican index card that some people put on their mantle, like what Miles has here. He has a whole bunch of like little candles, a little pot stuff. I've seen stuff similar to this in other Spanish households, not necessarily my own, but in other people's places that I visited that have been Puerto Rican or even Dominican as well. You'll see things like this. We're obviously very religious, so you can see like the little, what is it? It looks like a little candle. It looks like a little angel thing there. It's pretty small now. I can't kind of, you know, zoom into it. I don't think so right now currently. But you could tell right there, it just looks like a little angel there. A lot of Puerto Ricans and just Latinos in general are very, very religious. You know, there's a very strong religious quality, a religious element and characteristic to them. But the more interesting stuff for you guys, okay, besides the little Spider-Man suit ideas that he has, okay, just to kind of mess around with that. Take a look at that frog right there. Okay, you see that frog? That's a coqui. Okay, so what a coqui is, it's basically a type of frog that is native to Puerto Rico. It's like the actual country's or the actual island's national animal, okay, a national symbol. Coqui, you see it in almost any sort of Puerto Rican type of, you know, not propaganda, but type of like, you know, promos or any sort of like advertisements. You always see a coqui. You find it in like almost anything involving Puerto Rico. It's everywhere. You see it in like statues, little maquettes, all over the place. Now, from what I could tell in here, if I could just angle the camera a little bit, I can't zoom in on those little sections there, but I could see a lot of different books there, and a lot of them are like global anthropology, a lot of global stuff, and it says WMD Island. I think that's also some other political things. There's nothing specific that I could tell, at least from this angle, that's Puerto Rican or Latino related. And then we obviously could see the Amazing Fantasy number 15, which is obviously a nod to the origin of Spider-Man. But let's continue through the house, because we're going to look at a lot of different stuff here. There's a lot of, you know, some of the furniture is very reminiscent of what you would find in similar households that have like a Spanish taste to them, or an element of like, you know, a preference of like the style of different types of rooms. You see this all the time. Old TV, an old turn TV, which you can see Miles is kind of like, you know, poking fun at it. An old TV. If you grew up in the 90s, you probably, or even the 80s, you probably saw a TV like this, so it's not even Spanish related. But let's continue onward. Okay, we obviously have all these other little things here now. Let me take a look at these books, just to be specific here. A lot of legal books, dictionaries. And again, I can't really make out some other stuff. Now, some people have said some of the pottery in Miles's home is very reminiscent of like, you know, different types of like sculpture and pottery that you would find in a typical Spanish home, or even related to Puerto Rico. I'm not necessarily sure about that, because in my own households, we don't have a lot of stuff like that. And some other households that I have been to, both Puerto Rican, Dominican, or anybody else, Latin American specifically, haven't seen a whole lot of that, okay, per se. So just kind of scanning through, see if there's anything else I miss. And I know for a fact I'm going to miss a lot of stuff through this video. So even if I miss something in here, don't take offense to it. Just put it in the comment section down below. Anything that's worth mentioning. I could just, what is that? What is that soda there? It says Swilko? Swilko? I don't know if that's necessarily a reference, but just funny. So now let's go to the rest of the house. Let's actually check out some of the rest of stuff because there's some of the big things I want to get to that I want to talk about. Now we're going to have this scene play out. Homeboy spilling some of the stuff, probably pissing off his mom. And we're going to come back here. We're going to turn back around and go back to that hallway in a second. But there goes Miles' mom. She's talking Spanish. A lot of Spanglish in this game that I've seen. And that's, again, anybody who's Latino, anybody that's Puerto Rican, Dominican, anything of the sort knows exactly, like, that's a thing in your household that you'll kind of like flip-flop between Spanish and English. You'll blend the two. You'll get a lot of Spanglish all over the place. You see? Even she says mijo like that. It's a thing. So let's look at all this stuff. Now, like I was saying before, I am Puerto Rican. I am pure-blood Puerto Rican. And there's a lot of elements here that I can relate to, that I've seen in my own household and others in family and extended family. So here's the big one. Like this is what really clued me in here, that Insomniac Games either has people in their grouping that are Puerto Rican or knows someone that's part of that team or in their family that is Puerto Rican. Because you know what that is right there? Again, I wish I could zoom in here. I wish the game had a zoom in feature at the current moment. That right there on the dish, okay, on the plate, those are pateles. And now, what are pateles? Pateles are our typical dish, or usually a dinner dish that people will cook in Puerto Rico, or people usually do in New York, where it's like a banana wrap. Basically, it's like, you know, it's a little bit of like green banana with sometimes with meat and other stuff, sometimes olives as well, that's wrapped up in the way that you're seeing it now. Again, it's a little hard to see because it's so small. Let me see if I can angle it a little bit. You can look at it right there. Again, it's even the type of wrapping. It's like, I look at this and it's like, it takes me back to, like, you know, when my own family does stuff like this, or my extended family has done stuff like this. There's wrapped and unwrapped, as you could tell. There's wrapped and unwrapped. It looks like maybe those three there have just been taken off of the wrap. So it's like in a banana leaf where it's wrapped up and it's put, as you can see here, look here, literally Insomniac went the 100 extra miles. You got the same freaking pot or type of pot that I've seen in my own family that's used to cook these things. And you can see a bunch of them in there. I'll tell you right now, that's a lot of pateles that Miles' mom is making. And then next to him, okay, next to that she's making there, she's making tostones in the big plate, or the big pan. Look, she's even flipping them right now. So look, you can even look at all this stuff. There's empanadas. There's a lot of different dishes. There's arroz con pollo or arroz habichuelas. That's there. There's a whole bunch of things there. There's a lot of food. Let me put it that way. A ridiculous amount of food for the amount of people that are going to be in this cutscene. There's a lot in there. But all this stuff, okay, everything that you can see here is what you could find usually during the holidays in a Puerto Rican household, or some elements of. You don't always have it where you don't always have like all these different things at the same time. Depends on the family. Depends on the people that are in there. Look, there's a lot of dishes all over the place. Like, she's like making food for like 20, 30 people. And the other funny thing is about this, what makes it so much more funny thinking about it, and look, there goes a jamon. There goes ham. Cut ham for the holidays. And look, in the salad too, we saw it before on the other side, but look, let's get a little closer look at it. You can see the ham right there. It's cut exactly like how you would expect. Again, I've had this type of setup, minus the empanadas, you know, at different times in my own household. Not just for the holidays, okay? But it's there. You even got the potato salad. So, yeah, I think that's potato salad. I'm pretty sure that's potato salad. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's potato salad. Yeah, that's exactly what you think it is. And look, even even Insomniac put the trash that's like filled with people throwing stuff in there already. Like, that's a typical funny thing. So, yeah, there's a lot in here. I definitely got to commend, you know, Insomniac for really going in the extra 100 miles for this. Look, you can even see the cookies on the what is it, the refrigerator. There's a bunch of cookie like magnets there. You can see a whole bunch of like little extra stuff there. There's even more magnets on the bottom there. Again, the Puerto Rican magnets, the Puerto Rican flag, the off-brand cereal. So let me explain, because I know I'm laughing and everybody's probably looking at this like, JJ, what are you laughing for? So typically, in a Spanish household. Again, a lot of Latinx and a lot of Latino people could relate to this because usually sometimes we don't always have an exorbitant amount of money to spend on groceries and food and stuff. We tend to look for a lot of sales. And sometimes that involves getting the off-brand, like similar to the real brand, but really off-brand cereal and other types of like foods because it's cheaper. And it's not a bad thing. It's just like we like looking for deals. Like sometimes you just got to do that. But like I look at that as like, okay, I could. They're not real brands, obviously. These in here in the game, but like I could just envision like going to my own like kitchen like back in the day and just seeing similar stuff to that, where it's not necessarily like cornflakes or it's not necessarily like Lucky Charms or Fruit Loops, but it looks exactly like it, so it might as well be. That's an inside joke. Again, if you're a Latino, and I'm pretty sure other families and other people have done this, but like if you're a Latino, that more than likely you had to deal with that same thing, which is funny. So there goes a giant chicken or a rooster statue. And I've seen stuff similar to that. Not that exact thing, but I've seen similar stuff to that. You know, maybe not as big in various households. Okay, like even just, again, just look at it. She's making tostones, son. She's making tostones. Look at that. Anyway, let's move on. Let's look at some of the other stuff in the house because there's other things I do want to touch on. Now, one thing you will notice in Miles' house, okay, in his grandmother's house, his abuela's house, you'll notice all these paintings, right? So there's a lot of different paintings. Now, I don't think, as far as I know, okay, as far as I know, I could be wrong in this. Let me know in the comments down below. Some of these paintings aren't based on real paintings that were done, you know, by various artists for Puerto Rico. I could be wrong. If they are, then, again, I apologize. But I know for a fact, in my own household, even now in my new household, ever since I moved, we do have paintings that have typical stuff like depicting a lot of different things from Puerto Rico, from the island. And that comes from a lot of people who also lived at the island, who've had family that were born or raised at the island of Puerto Rico. And that you see it, it's like a very similar, very typical thing that you would find in any sort of Latino households that has a Puerto Rican family member and stuff. And it's just like, it's not really of anything particular as far as I know. It's a lot of different things. Sometimes it'll be like, you know, different elements of like the beach or different elements of like the trees. Sometimes of the people doing different things. Sometimes still lives of the food, which you'll see, like, again, you have like a couple still lifes here that Miles' grandmother has there. Again, there goes the typical street like that. And like I said, I don't know if they're based on real paintings, but like in my own households, I have paintings that are done in similar fashion. Let's go over here, right? Let's go to the bathroom that Miles has. Because Miles has, again, the same thing here in the bathroom here. And I think also, no, it's in the other room. But there goes one there. You'll have like paintings and stuff in the bathroom. I have the same thing in my own household. Even the floral shower curtains. Not the exact ones I got, but like similar stuff, right? So now let's go over here. You can see a lot of the Puerto Rican memorabilia. Again, some of the similar, candles. You'll see candles, usually scented candles. And not so much the potted plants. The potted plants might be a preference thing, but I don't even see a lot of potted plants in my own households. Okay, I don't necessarily think that's specifically a Puerto Rican or a Latinx thing. See more of different stuff, more of the paintings. Here you go. A lot of paintings. Miles has a lot more paintings in his grandmother's household than the typical ones I've seen. Let's go to his mother's room. His mom and dad's room, and you can see the same thing. Again, a lot of paintings. Now, keep in mind, also, this could be partially due because Miles' dad is African-American. Miles' dad is black, so that might also be an element of that thrown into the mix, you know, because there is obviously black Latinos, black Latinx people, or black Puerto Ricans as well. And there really isn't so much of a huge difference. There's a lot of the cultural stuff is pretty much the same. If you've raised, or if you were, you know, involved with families, or you have family members that were doing a lot of this stuff, again, a lot of it just blends and diffuses together. So here's the Prowler stuff. Just going to kind of pass by that. A lot of Prowler things, you know, involving his dad. We're just going to go through this. So I'm going to choose the record. Whoops, let me examine. I think this is the one that I chose in my own playthrough.
Salsa from abuela. Mom and dad would
Yeah, so let's take that. Yeah, so we're not gonna get past through any of that other stuff. Let me look around just in case I miss anything in this room. Just clothing, just boxes, TV setup. Not really much else. Again, nothing else more specific to what we're talking about here. Look at the cardboard boxes. Fun apple. That's funny. So let's go back over around this area. So you can see more of the candles, see more of the cookies. There's a lot of cookies in this household. You could definitely tell this is definitely a Puerto Rican owned household. There's all the cookies and all this different stuff. So the flowers in the painting, there's another one there. And this is back in Milos Room, right? Yeah, this is back in Milos Room. Not so much really to point out that we haven't already. Let's go back out here. Now, there goes a painting of the beach, as far as I can tell. I don't think that's a frame. There goes a, looks like a frame, like, I guess a printout for New York. I've never seen anything like that, but really specifically the beach, okay, as you can tell. That looks like, again, a clear beach. It reminds me, I've seen paintings or even photographs of, like, you know, beaches in Puerto Rico, specifically like Bujay Beach, or Bujay, again, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Bujay is just like, it's a beach where I've been to where the water is like that type of like turquoise and it's clear walking on it. And it's kind of shallow in the areas, at least that I went to, where it's clear you could just almost see right through, and it's got this turquoise slash light blue color. And then you have Boquerón Beach, which is a little bit different, which has a lot darker tints in the water because there's rocks and it's a little bit deeper and stuff. But there you go, like I was talking before about the beaches. Now, let's talk to Miles's boy here.
You sure bleaching's a
Just
good
see what
idea?
he's up to.
Yeah, for sure. Why?
I don't think there's many other stuff I missed in the bathroom that I can't already point out for you guys. Okay, and again, this is during the Christmas holiday for them, which is cool because Spider-Man Miles Morales came out around the holiday season, so this is almost perfect. So, like I was mentioning before, pictures of the people, a lot of people dancing salsa. Salsa is a big thing in Puerto Rican culture, obviously with the music. So you got a lot of different pieces that are depicting people dancing the salsa, getting dressed up in the typical Spanish Puerto Rican like get up, you know, exotic look. You know, a lot of like the old man here and stuff. Old man just like, again, just chilling out, looking at the viewer. Another thing I do want to mention, okay, you see this flag here with the straw hat? That straw hat is one thing. But really what stood out to me is the little models and the little hang up, like, you know, houses and stuff. I've seen those. Like, not exactly these, but seen those that have looked like that or very similar in nature. So you got to give a lot of props to Insomniac for really going. Again, look, even more little knickknacks up there. Little horse. A lot of different stuff, man. A lot of different stuff in here. Let me also put this here in the record. She's even going to mention about dancing. Again, you're going to hear probably a little bit of the salsa. It's not too much, again, because I don't want to get the video claimed. Dinner in the show. Pretty funny. Look, even the pillows. I've seen pillows like this. Not these exact pillows, but maybe not even the similar colors, but very similar in design as far as, you know, the typical thing you would find in like a whole getup, a whole living room, you know, for someone that lives in a Puerto Rican household. So, any other things I can mention? Anything in the books? Like, I'm looking at the books. I'm seeing a lot of repeated books all over the place. So you could definitely see a lot of repeated textures from the Insomniac team. I get it. I'm poking a little fun at you, but not like really picking at you.
I'm gonna make you proud, Dad.
Let me see. Any other stuff? There goes another painting. A lot of the exotic dancing. Again, looks like someone just, again, a dancer, dancing the salsa, etc. The clock. Not so much the clock. Not really. Any other stuff? And I guess you could look at this chair. This could be kind of like the grandmother's chair, the grandfather's chair, or the dad's chair. It's that one chair where, you know, you get like the old family member that just sits and, you know, away from everything or near everything, usually near the TV. I'm surprised it's not near the TV. You know, well, not the TV there, that's a record player, but like there'll be like a TV in the middle of like the living room, so that'll be like right in front of the TV so they could just chill and watch. Now, not so much anything else involving the tree with Miles, even though there's a similar getup. I have my tree very kind of like made kind of like this, with even with the way that you have to go put on the lights and stuff in the bottom part. Not a cool presents though. I wonder what presents Miles got for Christmas. So yeah, let me go back to the kitchen. You can see some of the spices and some of the things. Usually, it won't be in jars or canisters like this. In my own household, it's just all the brands and like the canisters you would buy at the supermarket all lined up and like all stacked up and things like that. Pretty much, again, this is kind of cool. So, all in all, okay, I'm going to kind of let the cutscene play out a little bit
It's good to be here, Miss.
as I'm talking. As Miles's lady friend comes to visit for dinner, okay, which is cute. So, I'm really impressed. I'm very impressed by what the team at Insomniac had did. I also want to give a shout out to one of the guys that hit me up on Twitter after I was tweeting about this, right? And he actually responded back to me. I think he did some of the UIs, or not some of the UIs. So let me see, where is it? I'll tell you right now. His name is Ryan Benno. Okay, Ryan Benno. He actually did. What is it? He was over at Insomniac for a bit. He does a lot of the environmental stuff. So yeah, so he was the one that was kind of mentioning this. He told me on Twitter, yes, this makes me happy that people recognize it. I'm Mexican, but wanted to make sure that this was right from a PR standpoint for a traditional holiday meal. So mad props to you, Ryan, for doing your research big time. Okay, either you did massive amounts of research looking online and stuff, or you talked to a lot of different people that are of Puerto Rican descent or Puerto Rican heritage. So very, very cool. I'm going to kind of end, we're not going to go too much further with the cutscene here, so I'm not going to do the stuff that Miles does now. But like I was saying, a lot of this stuff I can relate to, being Latinx, being Puerto Rican, being Boricua. Again, this takes place in New York, so a lot of the Puerto Ricans that live in this game there are considered Boricua. When you're from New York, that's what you're kind of called there. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. So, like I said, massive props to the team at Insomniac. You guys did a phenomenal job. I can't wait to play the rest of this game. I'm a little bit further ahead than this section of the game. I just wanted to come back and show you guys this stuff. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got a little bit more perspective from someone who is authentic and pure-blood Puerto Rican about a lot of the Puerto Rican references and nods in Spider-Man Miles Morales. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I will talk to you guys again very soon.